Hi everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. So today we're going to be talking about pre-writing and the 7 things to do before you start writing a book. So the pre-writing stage is everything you do before writing a book. It's going to look very different depending on the writer. For some people, the pre-writing stage may be years and it may involve very detailed planning, whereas for others it may be very short or not involve that much work. But I think these are 7 things that most people, regardless of their process, can implement in some way and that are really beneficial things to do before you start writing your book in order to set yourself up for success. Number 1, get all your notes in one place. If you're anything like me, you can be a bit messy when taking notes in the brainstorming phase. Personally, I'll sometimes jot down notes on my computer, but a lot of them will be on my phone because I personally take a lot of notes on the go, and so I just put them in the notes app on my phone. But as a result, I have this just endless notes that are not going to be very accessible while drafting. So I think a great first step for anyone is to just centralize all of your notes. Throughout this video, I'll show you guys some examples of what all of these pre-writing steps look like in the Reedsy book editor. This is our free online word processing tool. And we also have planning and outlining features in beta. And so since everything is centralized, it's a really great place to store all of your notes alongside your draft, because then all phases of your writing process are completely centralized. You can do this in other programs as well, but I think the RBE being a free option and being really intuitive and clean to use is great if you're looking for something that's just super accessible. So I'll leave a link to that in the description. Number 2, brainstorm possibilities. I think before you start writing, a great option is to just do some brainstorming. I like to brainstorm ideas for possible scenes. Personally, I tend to be a very character-driven writer, and so I like to have ideas for scenes of like concrete events that could happen, and then through that scene, I'll figure out how that's going to develop the character relationship as it happens. But it's nice to kind of have this just list of material that I can turn to if I get stuck in my draft. I can look at this list and be like, oh yeah, I had that really cool idea. Oh, that would work really well with the point in the story I'm at. For some people, this brainstorming might eventually turn into an outline, but I think before you write, it's great to take time to just do some brainstorming. And I think the act of tangibly writing out your ideas can often unearth better ideas and more interesting ideas than if you were just kind of waiting for the ideas to come to you rather than like consciously brainstorming. Number 3, put your notes in order. So even if you're not going to outline, I think one thing that's really helpful is to at least organize your notes in some kind of chronological way. So let's say that you have a bunch of notes for different scene ideas that you want to write, that it would help to break that up into say like Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, just so that it's easier to reference on the go. You know, if you have a great idea for a scene, but it would have to happen near the end of the book, just shelve it under your Act 3 heading. Again, if you're going to outline, this can then turn into your outline. This can be a great first step to outlining, but I think if you don't outline, and I personally don't usually outline, I still like to get my notes in a general chronological order, so it's as easy as possible to find the relevant notes while I'm drafting, and I don't end up missing anything important. Step number 4, create easy to navigate character profiles or outlines. So I think it can help to have at least general character profiles with basic information so that you can keep things consistent. And for other people, you may have very detailed character profiles that go super in depth into your character with a ton of different questions, because that might be an important part of your character development process. Similarly, if you have an outline, create an easy to follow, easy to navigate outline. If you want more information on how to create an outline, we have several videos on outlining, one on different types of outlining and one on how to create an outline. So we'll leave links to those in the description. Step number 5, save all your research to one place. If you have any kind of research that you needed to do for your novel, organize all your research and save it all in one place. Again, the idea with most of this is that you want to make it as easy as possible to find information while drafting. And for research, this is especially important, especially if you have a lot of research. You may want to save a list of relevant links and clearly label them so you can find that information when you need it. Save all your information in one place. I think it helps to have a designated research page or even several research pages organized for different topics if you have more extensive research. Number 6, do writing exercises and write test scenes. Before you start, this is a great time to do any kind of writing exercises that help you get ready to write a novel. For me personally, I like to write test scenes. This is a really important part of my writing process to write a few scenes in the voice of my novel, usually scenes that I plan to be in the book, to acquaint myself with the voice. This might look different for different people, but I do think that now is a great time to do some writing exercises to further develop elements of your story. We have several videos on different writing exercises for things like dialogue, setting, character development, so I'll leave links to those in the description. We also have a writing exercises directory if you want to do some writing exercises in your pre-writing stage. And finally, step number 7, talk through the project with someone you trust. I think this is a really beneficial step, is to just talk about it with someone who can ask you maybe interesting questions and get you thinking about things you hadn't thought of before. It's really helpful to have just a different set of eyes, a different brain working on the story. Even if it's just you explaining the story to them, a lot of the time as you're just explaining things, you'll realize plot holes, or they'll pick up on a plot hole, or they'll ask you a question that you hadn't considered before. It can be super beneficial, so I would definitely recommend before you start writing, talk it through with a trusted friend or critique partner, because if you have blind spots on the plot, things that don't really make sense that you hadn't really thought through, someone else can identify that for you sometimes right away. So those are 7 things that I think it's super helpful to do in the pre-writing stage. What would you say is the most important part of your pre-writing process? So thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time, bye!